everybody, and welcome to this very, very special episode of Behind the Business. We have one of my personal favorites in the business.
Wow.
I think I'd go as far as give my personal fave in the business.
Great
also,
start.
thank you. Also happens to be my boss. But he still is the best. That's not just me being like that. But guys, we have so much to get through because this guy right here has had a hell of a journey.
A life.
Hell of a life and hell of a journey in the music industry. This guy has done it all and is somebody that I look up to greatly. He's made some of the content that has not only made an impact on me, but my generation and the people. We'll get into it. I'm not going to get ahead of myself and start talking Halsey yet, but we're going to go there. We're going to go there. So make sure you guys, I know everybody is super pumped to have Possum on, so make sure you're dropping your chat cues. See everybody out here in the chat right now. Shout out S Fantile. Shout out Sonia and
What's up,
Cindy.
everybody in the
Let's
chat?
go.
We got some reps in the chat. We got some family in the chat.
Yes.
All good.
So good.
It's great to be here. It's great to be on the other side of the camera. I haven't done that actually in a long time, so I'm usually back there with the broadcast boys hanging out.
Yeah, we're usually on the crew cam, but today you're getting us front and center. So without further ado, let's dive into the lore that is Possum Hill.
Let's dive into let's get behind the business.
Let's get behind the business. Let's really get behind the business. So I'm lucky enough to know you and know about your story, but for those at home tuning in and watching, I won't spoil too much, but you started out in the East Coast, kind of near me, up in North Carolina.
Yes.
And you decided to, like a lot of people do, make a crazy jump and bet on yourself, pack up your bags. You threw your drum kit in the back of your car.
Yes.
And did you drive? You drove
I
all
drove.
the way out here?
Absolutely. I think the greatest Muhammad Ali once said, if your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough. And I had one dream. I did. I wanted to be, I wanted to be on MTV. I played in bands my whole teenage years and through college and the whole thing. And after school, I wanted to test the waters and come out to Los Angeles. And I put my drum kit in the back of my pickup truck at the time and drove out here with my girlfriend at the time and, knew a couple people, $3,000 in my pocket, and, worked on making it happen and came out here and tried to, audition for bands, got into bands because, not knowing anybody out here, I needed to showcase my skills. So, and it was obviously it was a different time. Bands were super prevalent. They were everything on the Sunset Strip, and rock was huge. And played in a couple of bands to get my name out there, and it worked. And I had to do some really weird odd jobs just to keep paying the rent while you're chasing the dream, if you will. Yeah. But it's still to this day the single best decision I ever made in my life to come out here.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned your odd jobs when you first got out here because I think there's a little bit of glittery gold that surrounds Los Angeles, and it's like you get out here and it's all going to be there and the opportunities, but it's like you really got to put your nose to the grindstone and do a lot of things to get where you want to be. Do you think that in that moment when you were coming out here and you were like, all right, grind set starts now? Because I know you now, and I know that that is something that you have held on to very strongly throughout your career, is that you know what? You're a problem solver. You see it, you fix it immediately. There's a solutions. You're my solutions guy. I know if something needs to get done, I come to you. So was that kind of the antithesis of your hustle mentality of you know what? If I've got to paint a parking lot, if I've got to dust a restaurant, I'm going to make sure it gets done just so that I can keep going. Where did that passion of music is it, and I'm going to make it in music, regardless of what the situation looks like right now?
Well, I come from a blue-collar family. My dad was an iron worker, so I think I always had that kind of work ethic. Yeah. But yeah, I was painting parking lots as my day job while I was practicing and playing gigs at night in bands. But it was actually great. Honestly, it made me grow up because I was working with all these people. That's how I learned how to speak Spanish. That's how I learned the city of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
That's how I just learned about, it toughened me up, quite frankly.
Yeah.
But, when you're starting out, you're not just going to make money playing in bands. It took a long time to get there.
Yeah.
But you got to hustle.
Hmm.
You got to hustle because otherwise I was going to be going home.
Period.
And then the whole thing about problem solving and pivoting, those are things that I learned along the way. Because in this industry, whether you're a musician or whether you're at a record label or in the music industry in general, you have to be able to one, learn to, okay, identify we may have to pivot here,
Yeah.
and then two, okay, we have to solve this problem and we got to make it happen.
Of
It's
course.
because at the end of the day, and I preach this motto, it's about, ideation, creation, execution. But if you do not have the execution at the end of that, it's a failed process.
100% agree. And we definitely see that. And that's why I'm so glad that I get to learn from you because we're doing it the right
Well, well,
way.
thank you. It's been great having you on the team.
Thank you so much. So speaking of being in a band, that was kind of your initial pull into this industry per se. But you kind of started taking on the role in your band. I know you were in multiple bands,
Yeah.
multiple bands. Shout out Rumblefish. Uh, but when you were in that role, you kind of, from what I understand, learning your story is you kind of took over as like, you know what? There's a business side to this as well as a creative side to this that needs to kind of get ironed out and needs to be taken care of. And is that kind of when it started to switch? Because it's always very interesting. Obviously, we do a lot of artist interviews, and it's cool to see that you had that knowledge of being in front and being that person, that talent, that star that is getting all of the promotional value and the people buying in and committing to your art and wanting to produce it and put it out there for you. And what was that like turning point for you where you were like, you know what? I love making the music. I love being on the stage, but I would really like to get behind that camera and start making some moves.
Well, the camera thing came later on, but as far as the band mentality,
Yeah.
the successful bands, I noticed and watched, different members of the bands bring different things to the table.
Mm.
So, for example, as the drummer, I was heavily involved in booking the shows, dealing with management, talking with the labels, the promotion aspect.
Yeah.
Because just like anything else, you could be the greatest musician, band, songwriter, whatever, but if you don't go out there and push and promote your music, and
Yeah.
if you don't have that hustle and that mentality, no one's going to notice it. So that I learned that early on, and I learned it from watching other bands and the success stories and seeing who actually stood out and why they were standing out. So I tried to emulate that and put my own spin on it.
Yeah. What from that portion of your life, what did you take away that you're now still using as like an executive in the music industry? Are there any lessons in that early stage being in the band that showed you a side that you still now use today?
Absolutely, you got to commit to finish. If you're on,
Powerful.
whether you're on a project, whether it's a concept, you have to finish it, or I mean, you actually make that commitment and do what it takes to get it across the finish line. It could be booking a gig, it could be showcasing for a record label, it could be booking a tour. And now on this side, maybe it's booking an artist for a live stream, coming up with a concept for a campaign for a record label. You got to execute. You got to commit to executing the process. And I learned that early on, and I still keep that mentality today.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. He is not lying. He does keep that mentality, everybody. Just know that at home in the chat. So not Rumblefish, our album got shelved.
Yep.
It gave you some time to think. For those at home, Possum was in multiple bands and had multiple signings with different record labels, and you were heavily involved in a project with your band Rumblefish.
Yep.
That kind of came to a head where the album was kind of taking a back seat, and that's kind of when your launch into the production space really became prevalent.
Yeah, so between, I was fortunate. I've had two big hobbies in my life: sports and music. And I was fortunate enough to work in both. I was working at Fox Sports between my band
Mm-hmm.
gigs, different bands, different signings, and I was working over at Fox Sports while we were making the Rumblefish record, and the record kept getting delayed, getting delayed. We're all getting frustrated. I'm hitting up the label, emailing in caps, what's going
Yeah.
on? But at that time, I was offered an opportunity over at Fox. They said, "Hey, we're doing a pilot for this action sports show on Fox Sports.
Mm-hmm.
You're in a band, you speak the language. We send you a cameraman with you to Warp Tour. Do you want to go interview some bands for the pilot?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, it's fun." Went and did it, had a good time, turned in the content, and then like a few weeks later, they're like, "Yo, you're actually pretty good at this. Do you want to be on the
Pretty
show?"
decent.
And it was one of those things. I tend to listen to the universe a bunch in the decisions of my life, but that was offered to me at the time when the record looked like it wasn't even going to come out,
Yeah.
and we were starting to have dissensions in the band, and it
Mm.
was a turning point for me. So I joined that show and became a host on that show. I was doing red carpet stuff, interviewing bands and things. But what I also did during that is I was producing the projects in the edit bay, producing the segments. And that's what really caught my, I want to be behind the scenes. I want to get into storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a turning point for me where I was just not going to be like, okay, I don't think I want to do the full time musician thing anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I want to move into a different direction.
Mm, 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 mm. I love that. I love that. I love your ability, and again, this is just a commentary on you as a person, but I love your ability to adapt and to pivot so quickly. A lot of people get stuck and
Yeah.
they sit in that for a second, but you don't sit in it.
Well,
You don't sit in it
I,
at all.
I
You jump right
did,
up.
I did get stuck in many instances,
Yeah.
and but I learned you had
Mm.
to move on. Being getting signed highlights of my life, and then getting dropped low
Low
lights,
light.
and you're like, what am I gonna do next? Oh my
Yeah.
God. But all the things that I learned while being in the band and being at the label and being in the meetings, and okay, how are we going to promote this? Why did you pick this for the single?
Yeah.
Why do you want us to go out with this band on tour? What's the end game? I tried to soak all that in, and again, every single thing that you do in life, whether you're going out for you're in a meeting, you're doing a job interview, what have you, you should be able to take something out of that experience.
Yeah.
So out of all that, I thought, post musician career, I could do something in the music industry.
I want to briefly touch on your artist interviews just because now I kind of sit in that role here at 3.5 and I write our artist interviews. And for me to be able to go and see you in these spaces doing these red carpet interviews, I mean, come on, you were talking to Ozzy, Metallica, Deftones, Broken Side. You were doing these heavy hitters and getting these people in the literal antithesis of when music was kind of switching from just music
Hmm.
into this new digital media age where there was this need for visuals to accompany and this extra content. It was no longer just music, and you were really on the cusp of that, and you were there in those moments where it's like we look back now and it's like, I mean, classic Y2K style interview and jumping in super punchy, super
Yeah, I
excitable,
was
just
super loud. Apparently,
super
I was
loud.
I was told that by many people. Again, I think being able to speak the language as a musician,
Yeah,
I think that helped me with that interview
a lot, yeah.
process because as we know, when you're interviewing, artists, whether it's a solo artist or a band, they get asked a lot of the same
Yep.
questions. So maybe I could come from it, at a different angle, if you will. But that was a lot of fun. But again, I think really like doing those kind of things led me to being behind the
Yeah.
scenes, into the storytelling, and that's how like so I was doing that. I did some NASCAR stuff too, but when I was doing that, the thing that kind of really led to the music industry portion of it was
Mhm.
I did this. I had an idea for a documentary for this band Sick Puppies, and I approached Capitol Records with it,
You're
right?
getting ahead of us.
And it was like, okay, let's do. I had got this idea for a short form, 10-part documentary, but like 3 to 5 minutes each episode. But it really followed the band from the origin of, okay, we're gonna start writing the songs for this album,
Yeah.
all the way to this. We're gonna follow you in the recording studio when you're making the record. We're gonna go with you to the album photo shoot. Go with you to the label to pick the first single and why it's being picked. Radio promo, and it's called Countdown to Release, and we did it all the way up to the release. So I did that. I was very happy the way it turned out. I turned it into Capitol, and then lo and behold, like 6 9 months later, there was a position at Capitol Records
Mhm.
open, and this is another example of, okay, everything that you do. Um, I did that for the marketing team, but the creative team was the one that was looking for.
Yeah.
They're looking for someone to hold that position, and it was based on the strength of that doc that the marketing team went to the creative team and said, "Yo, you should check this out. He did this for us, and he was really good. I think he'd be a great member of your team," and that led to getting that job. But again, like in this industry, in the entertainment industry especially, it's so important to make a great impression on everything you do, because people want
Mhm.
people want
Talk
to
to
hang
it.
out people want to hang out with people who brim with positivity, and that they're
Exactly.
proactive and they're team players. Because like if you're on set with someone for 12, 14, 16 hours on a video shoot, you want to be able to hang with people who are like-minded, and
Yeah.
again who are positive,
Kind.
exactly. So I think everybody should think about that when they're starting out, when they're going on
Attitude.
set, when they're part of like internships, things like that, because um, good word spreads just
Yeah.
as much as bad word spreads, straight up. So you want to be part of the good and not the
Believe
bad.
that. So, going back to your capital and the sick puppies, I mean, that's a bold power move there. So, tell me about that. You went to Capitol and you were like, look, I've got this idea. I've got a story I can tell. Trust me. How did that approach look? How did it, cuz I know we have a lot of people who are young creatives with all these ideas, and like, you, was it more just like a cold pitch? You were like, "Look guys, I can do this. Let me try." Or what did that process look like getting you in the door at Capitol?
Well, I think, and just like anything that you want to pitch, you need to make sure it's well thought out,
Mhm.
and you have the concept,
Yeah.
and you can lay it down in a few sentences. And because these are the things that an artist team, whether it's at the record label or their management, are going to want to know. Okay, is this going to cost us any money?
Yep.
Is it how much? What is the artist commitment time that you need from the artist? What is the purpose of this, and what can we get out of it? And if
Mm.
you can answer all those questions to their liking, they're going to be more open-minded.
Yeah.
And that was the idea behind that. I have found that some of the bigger things that I've been able to do in my career were based on, quite frankly, just being proactive and
Yeah.
and pitching things. But again, you don't want to be the person that just like pitches stuff all the time and maybe 1 out of 10 will land. I mean, everybody has their own different workflow of how they go about things. But for me, I think it's better, hey, you know what? Let's take a breath. Let's really work this out. What are the benefits of doing this? And they seem to agree with me, so they gave the green light.
That's amazing. And that opportunity actually then, I love how you spoke about like the universe, but like that opportunity ended up leading you into a position at Capitol
Yeah.
where you were not only the BTS photographer and editor for Halsey, but also Jane's Addiction and Katy Perry. You know how I feel about Miss Halsey.
Yes. Uh,
Shout out to my mom for putting me on to Jane's Addiction early, 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 because I mean, you're hitting all my faves there. Behind the scenes, that back, Lord, take me back there. I want to be there.
it was a little different back then because
Tell me about
we were
it.
more about long form. When I
Okay.
first started out at Capitol, as manager of video production, that was my first gig over there. It was my camera. I was filming and editing these artists behind the scenes. Like Katy Perry on the Prism campaign.
Yep.
I followed her overseas on the foreign press tour, and we did behind the scenes on all the music videos. And this is weird. They were actually going to MTV. We were doing like 30-minute specials where you could really dive in and tell
Yeah.
stories. And then that trickled down to, okay, that's not doing it. We're not doing that anymore. Now we're going to do 5-minute pieces to tell the stories. And now, as we all know, it's like now you're expected to tell a story
For
in 28 seconds.
yeah.
And that's fine. It's a challenge,
It's a
I
new
think it's great.
challenge.
I'm seeing and I'm hoping that it's still like it goes back a little bit to more about maybe some long form, so you can get a little dive into the storytelling a little more. Because to me, I always find that was the compelling stuff.
Yeah.
Like whether it's a movie like The Remnant, where I want to see how they shot it,
Yeah.
or if I want to, I want to do see a behind the scenes on the music video. Yeah, I love learning those things. So yeah, I started off with doing Katy Perry and Jane's Addiction, and then Halsey. I was at the beginning of when when she was signed, and New Americana came out, and Badlands came out.
Oh, the
I worked with her
albums.
team on all that behind the scenes stuff.
So, quick question, just because I remember when I used to be a rep, an 1824 rep, and there were times where I would have done anything to get on a set, whether that's PA, just sweeping the floors or anything. Do you have any advice for kids who are super into production, might not be in the areas like LA or New York? They might come from Georgia like me or North Carolina like you. What would your advice be to those kids who don't necessarily have the opportunities to show up in a big city like LA and find their way on a set? How could they start developing those production type skills so that maybe one day when they are in an opportunity financially or job wise to be able to step on that set with confidence?
Well, I mean, I think first of all, you have to develop your craft.
Mm-hmm.
And whether if you want to say if you want to be a videographer or photographer, go out with your friends.
Yeah.
If your friend is an artist or in a band, hey, let's go shoot a music video. Let's go do some things.
Proactive.
Yeah. Well, that's how you learn. Your editing skills, your photography skills, your videography skills. You need to develop those things. But really to your point about wherever you're at in the country.
Yeah.
That's one of the amazing things that 1824 brings to the table, right?
True.
And Todd Goodwin, our boss, has created this amazing community and culture. And our 1824, we have reps from all over the country.
Woo.
It could be Portland, Oregon,
Columbia, South
Columbia,
Carolina.
South Carolina, Atlanta, Gainesville, Georgia.
Yep.
So, we do provide those opportunities. So, if you are in school, I would, if you want to get into content or
yeah.
strategic partnerships or press or socials, creator partnerships, you should definitely hit out the
Please
1824
check out
website and check it out,
1824. I mean, I can speak to it for hours and hours and hours alone about how 1824 has changed my life and the good works that you guys have all done and how that's contributed to me in my career. And I mean, to the point where I moved 3,000 miles back to come be with you guys because you guys, they just got that. They got the juice and the sauce, y'all. It's great over here. But for real, it's definitely an amazing opportunity for kids who don't have that accessibility to be able to tap in and to learn those skills and to be able to walk into conference rooms at one point and walk with confidence. And so I definitely want to give you and Todd your flowers for.
I have to. That's Todd.
That's Toddy.
Todd
Todd.
created this. Going back to the capital thing for a second.
I'm about to go right back.
Okay, because one of the things, like, capital was a great opportunity for me. Loved working there.
Yeah.
In addition to doing all the behind the scenes stuff, I started developing some performance series like One Mic, One Take, and Top of the Tower. And that's where I kind of got into my director mode, right? That's I was creating series and directing them and editing them and producing them in the whole 9 yards. Really, really proud of that stuff. But
Yeah.
another thing that Capitol and Universal Music Group in general does and does so well, I love the UMG intern program. I think it's one of the best in the entire business.
Agreed.
And as a member of the creative team over there, I was a mentor for the interns each summer for like five years.
Yeah, I got some questions on that.
Okay.
I wanna dive into your programming a bit at
Okay.
Capitol though first, if you don't
Cool.
mind.
I go for it.
So I know we're celebrating 10 years of Badlands.
Yes.
That obviously probably means a little something to you.
Absolutely.
Are there any moments from the OG Badlands, maybe just one little story you could give us to help us celebrate this decade of amazing music, amazing visual content that, quite frankly, is the reason why I'm an artist in music?
She's Halsey is one of those rare people that I've seen that gets the big picture and can literally create in a moment's notice.
Yeah.
You know, seen her, you know, do a art painting just from the dome and just comes up with something special and creative. And she pours herself into her work too. Okay,
Yeah.
it's like for example, the new Americana video. We all fly over to Hawaii, right? To do the new Americana video. She wasn't feeling good on the flight.
Yeah.
So she, you know, she had to go see a doctor really quick. And we get out, and the first thing they're shooting on the new Americana music video, if you've seen the video at the very end, this epic shot where her and like 50 other cast members are running full speed across this mountain. And the
it's
director
so
had her
beautiful.
do that like 10 times. And she's sick, and she's just
she
making
did
it
it.
happen, and she's plugging her way through it. And she's a special artist. I think it was great working with her and seeing her grow. And then, you know, from doing the behind the scenes stuff to getting to direct concerts like at the Fonda
Yeah.
and
the
Red
Red Rock
Rocks.
show you did.
You
was
know, I
amazing.
mean, seeing her blossom from playing Webster
Yeah.
Hall all the way to headlining, Red Rocks and the Armory and that Nightmare era.
Oh,
It was just incredible to see, you know.
Going back to your concepts and your series at Capitol, because like you said, you created One Mic, One Take,
Hmm.
Top of the Tower.
Hmm.
You directed live music and led Nora Jones atop the Empire State Building.
Yes.
Crazy. Halsey Glass Animals at Red Rocks, Avenged Sevenfold, Super M Live at Capitol Records. Like,
Yes.
that's just a few. So,
It sounds pretty good when you put in a
right,
list like
right.
that.
When I do it like that, it sounds real
Yeah.
nice. When creating your concepts, how did you, and maybe it's just because you are the awesome possum, but how did you overcome dealing with creator fatigue? Because you're pouring in and you're pouring in and you're coming up with these creative ideas, and it's like, at any point were you ever like, dang, I'm a little tapped out? And if that ever happened, how'd you pour back into your cup when your cup started to feel a little empty creatively?
That's a good question.
Thank you.
I mean, a lot of those projects, you know, one thing I did learn at Capitol, work for a boss named Steve Barnett, who was an absolute legend in this business, and he's someone that you never ever want to disappoint. And literally, he would call you up in his office, and I would go up there with a notepad because he's like, "Come on in, son." He goes, "This is what you want to do." Boom, 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 boom. All right, go on. And like, I'd have to soak up all that knowledge and soak up everything he wants to accomplish. And it was a kind of a general kind of thing,
Yeah.
but then it was me to come up with the creative of how to do it. And there'd be many times I walked out of that office totally unsure, how am I going to pull this off?
Yeah.
But one thing, and when it comes to advice, I would say in this business, the first word out of your mouth should never be no. Because what people want out of you, what makes a great candidate, is someone that can problem solve, pivot, but also execute an idea. And you may not have the answer to it right away. And you know what? If I can't do that thing, I'm going to come up with an alternative idea where we can still achieve the same result. Because that's somebody that can, you know, people want to work with people like that.
Yeah.
And
bring me the solution.
you want to earn their trust.
Yeah.
And I got to a point where I earned the executive's trust over there. And to me, honestly, that meant everything.
Everything, yeah.
But on the creative side, I think I like to get away, go hiking or go on a bike ride. Just kind of get away from it. Draw inspiration from other avenues like TV, film. It doesn't have to be all just music centric. But you know, to me, like with Capitol, I thought to myself, okay, what are the things that are really super special about this place? One of them, Capitol Studios, legendary spot, Frank Sinatra
Mm-hmm.
is a legend, and he did all his recordings there. Well, they literally have these Neumanns, these famous microphones. They called them the Frank mics. So, okay, we have this epic studio. We have these microphones. Let's just do something. Let's shoot it in black and white and record it old school style. And it became part of like the artist campaign. Like the first thing we would do when we sign an artist over at Capitol, we'd bring him down for one mic, one take. Niall Horan from One Direction. The
Yeah.
first thing he did at Capitol, we brought him down and did a one mic, one take. And then Top of the Tower, the Capitol roof. If you know about it, it's a 360 roof that has the most amazing view
One of the
of
most
Los
iconic
Angeles.
buildings in Los
So,
Angeles.
you know, and this wasn't just me, but as a collective, we're with the studio, we're like, okay, how can we take the visual, this amazing, incredible visual of the roof and the amazing sonic mastery of the studio and combine them
Combine
together? So, you know, credit to the UMG team. They went out and they got fiber that went from the roof all the way down to the studio, so we can make it look amazing. And then we actually recorded it in the studio downstairs. So that's
Wow.
why all those things turned out really well, and everybody was really happy with them. So again, collective effort.
Yeah.
You know, collaboration is everything.
Yeah.
And I've been very fortunate, whether it's you know, my bands,
Yeah.
Capital, here, just being able to work with people and collaborate.
Do you think that that relationship you had with that boss, because I know it takes some time to hone the skill of feeling confident in your calls. Was there a moment or a general area of your career where did you always feel confident to make these calls, or was it like developing that relationship with that boss and him having that confidence in you that kind of allowed you to step forward in your purpose and in your plan and not fear that you were making the wrong call? Or do you still deal with the fact that sometimes you think, I don't think you think you're
No,
making
I mean,
I think you make calls with confidence.
well, confidence is key, but that is something that is built upon time. I mean, I think everybody should, again, I think I said this before, but take something away and learn something from every boss that you've ever had. Whether it's
Yeah.
you know, my boss, Danny Lockwood, like, I mean, the art of the email in the music industry, I totally learned from him. I learned because he would be on set and he would have to deal with what Katie wants, and then he'd have to deal with what the label wants and what the director wants.
Yeah.
But then he also has to deal with the CFO because we
Yeah.
have a bottom line money. So he's literally having to juggle for people's opinions and keep it harmonious. You know,
Yeah.
and keep it great. I'll give you a great Danny Lockwood story. Danny, I don't know if you're
Please.
watching. We're in
Sorry, Danny.
London doing the Unconditionally music video for Katy Perry. She has been on this. She just flew back and forth, did Saturday Night Live, came back. Katie's exhausted.
Tired.
We're
Tired
like,
Katie.
he's not getting quite what he needs. And we're Sunday night at 6 o'clock in London. If you know anything about London, things are shut down. He sends a PA. He's like, you need to go find me a little puppy. You need to go find a little puppy. And the PA is like, what? You need to go find a little puppy right now. And lo and behold, hour and a half later, brings this little tiny puppy to set, brings it to Katie. She melts, smiling. Oh my
Wow.
God, so happy. 80% of the video that was used, 80% of the shots were used after that puppy was on set. And it was just like, it taught me, I was like, wow, he went extra mile.
Yeah.
He saw something needed to be done, and he did it. I learned so much from that.
Yeah.
You know, Todd at 1824, he's amazing at seeing the big picture.
Amazing
I
at
have
that.
I've learned, I've really tried to soak up as much as that as possible in my
Longevity.
time here. Work with Amber Grimes. She's
Shout
an
out Amber Grimes.
incredible
Shout
boss
out Amber Grimes.
who came from Spotify, but came to a record label, but she did not think like a normal record label marketing person would.
Yeah.
She probably was coming more from the angle of Adidas, Nike.
Yeah.
How do we do campaigns? How do we put a different spin on it? Like, it wasn't about inside the box. And I learned a lot from her as well. And all my bosses, like Targa, incredible. Like, again, I think it's important to take a little something from everybody and
Yeah.
and also that's also how you kind of create your own thing, because
Yeah.
if I can take the best of these things, I love how this person did that. Oh, I'm gonna take a note on that because that person actually, just made this artist feel like, the greatest possible.
Yeah.
How can I do that? um, Another thing too, I've learned and I've tried to do, from the jump, is you want to instill confidence in your artist when you're working with
Yeah.
them, because the artist needs to be confident in you. Because if you have this vision, you put together this deck, okay, this is going to be the video or this is going to be the campaign, whatever it is, um, you have to sell it to them, and you have to make them feel completely,
Yeah.
comfortable and confident in you. So, and if you're not, they'll see right through it. And
True.
nobody wants that. So
No.
I think confidence is learned over time.
Yeah.
But I
Established.
think it's important to take things that you notice out there and put your own little spin on it.
I'm going to ask you one more capital question, and then I really want to jump into your mentor stuff and your time with 1824.
Cool.
But you said something that was really interesting to me, talking about your boss and like, you got to deal with the CFO, you got to deal with the talent. You being the creative in the room, you also have to deal with the opinions of the people above you, the people making the financial calls, the artist team. Maybe they even got a friend that they trust a little bit more that's got an opinion on your creative.
Yeah.
How did you kind of establish your creative with all of those other voices as well? Was it more of an in tandem thing, you create cohesively together, or were you more of a, I'm going to get my ideas out here, I'm going to present them to you, and then we can come back round table and figure it out from there? What did that process look like for you with so many players in that room?
Um, it's definitely interesting, and it's definitely something that I learned over time, that sometimes I need to be like, just take a breath. Let's let everybody
Yeah.
get their opinions out there, and then let's come up with something on the collective that we can move forward on. A good example is Dochi.
Mm.
Um, Dochi's crazy video. TDE and Capital did a joint partnership.
Yeah.
Dochi signed. Everyone's so excited about it. Michelle Jubilaire, shout to Michelle, one of my
Shout out
faves of all time. She
Michelle.
would literally tell us, "We need to break this artist,"
Yeah.
right? Um, and this isn't like I wasn't even on on the Dochi team. I wasn't part of that team. I wasn't assigned to it, but I had an idea. Saw the
Mm-hmm.
music video. She's in this warehouse. Her and all the dancers are in naked stockings with cars on fire
Yeah.
and stuff. So we're like, hey, we got to do a big splash, a big launch. So I pitched an idea to my boss Targa. Hey, what if we did this? What if we make it a launch party? And I saw a glass truck, a plexiglass truck in Venice Beach, and it was used for something completely else.
Yep.
And the idea was like, okay, let's put Dochi and her dancers in that, and let's drive to the location, do a pop-up performance. So that's the genesis of it, right?
Yeah.
But then, the TDE team, okay, well, she wants to bring in, these select dancers and this choreographer, and then okay, that's going to cost a lot of money, and then we
Yeah.
want to do it in a warehouse downtown, and then you have to get all the insurance and the costs are escalating like crazy, right? So you got TDE team, chiming in. You got the capital team chiming in. You got the marketing team chiming
Yep.
in, and again, this artist has never worked with me before,
Yeah.
so it was like working hand in hand, building that confidence,
Yeah.
and it worked. It was a great success. Everyone loved it. It's one of the things I'm definitely like really really proud of.
I think it's amazing.
But to your point, back to the question, there was a half a dozen people
Yeah.
chiming in and having to go through the speed bumps.
Yep.
That's an idea that started in February and we didn't execute it till April, because you had to jump through all these hoops and stuff, and we could not done any of it without all the players involved.
Being a part.
Yeah, yeah. So that was a true collaborative effort where you had to, because also the concept changed too. It went from, we're gonna do a pop up on Venice Beach, and she's
Yeah.
gonna perform in the skate park, to a downtown thing,
Friggin',
because
yeah.
we couldn't do it out there, because
No.
the BA team was like,
Uncontrolled environment.
yeah. So are you kidding me? You can't
That's
put her
the
out
most
there with
uncontrolled
security. You
environment.
can't do
Yeah,
that, right?
that's
So
fine.
okay, so let's take it step by step.
Yep.
Let's work in tandem with everybody, and let's see if we can make this thing happen.
Yeah.
We did.
Okay. As much as I want to sit there and just grill you on every single thing you've ever done, and I will slowly do that throughout my time here as your
Colleague.
colleague. I was like, what am I?
Colleague.
As your field producer.
Colleague.
But you at Capital felt so strongly about the intern mentorship program that you actually took lead for the creative side of that, and that was kind of where you started to begin what is where we're landing now.
Yeah.
But at what point, because I know that it's been put on my heart heavy that like I don't just want to be a creative. I want to pour in, and I want to pour into the next generation of creatives. And I mean, all my reps here, I care about them more than anything in the world. So what kind of made you realize? Because it's a lot of work to have not only your job, but then to take on the role of mentoring as well. So what kind of made you be like, you know what? I do all this stuff. Yeah, I got busy days, long meetings, but you know what's going to mean the most to me is if I give back a little bit.
Yeah.
Where was that for you?
The first time, the very first time that my boss said, "Hey, look, we're starting this new intern program. Why don't you be the mentor for our department?" Just dove into it and didn't have any experience with it, quite frankly, but
Yeah.
love the enthusiasm of these college
Yeah.
students that, oh my God, we're here in the music industry and we're working and given any opportunity to work on a Lil Yachty shoot or a Halsey shoot,
Yep.
things of that nature, and seeing their excitement. And then, trying to like mentor them along the way by giving opportunity. I'm a big believer in hands-on,
Yeah.
because I think that's where you learn the most, is really like getting in the weeds, being hands-on with it. You can watch people all day long, but given any opportunity to hold the camera, to conduct the interview, okay, how are we going to do this transition? Things of that nature, I think is really important. So I just really dove headfirst into it, and I really got a lot of pride out of it, quite
Yeah.
frankly. And we've had some tremendous members from that intern program do great things in the music industry and outside the music industry, and a few of them actually came from the 1824 team.
Whoop, whoop.
So we worked hand in hand with 1824 when I was at Capitol, and that's really kind of like how I met Todd. That's how that relationship started.
Is there a moment where you could like just I know there's probably many, but is there one that sticks out in your head? Because like I know I could personally speak about how you've changed my life in just 3 months of knowing you alone, and how you've invested in me and my confidence, and you
Thank
have
you.
put a camera in my hand and a comm set on my head, and you've said, go get it, girl, and you never had one shade of doubt in me, and you let me push forward with confidence. It did more for me in 3 months than the last 3 years of my life.
Wow.
I mean,
Thank you.
seriously, and I don't want to Cynthia Erivo it and like
Yeah.
hold space, and maybe we can like touch fingers there
No,
for
no.
a second. You're not getting that reference.
no.
It's okay. But that's a TikTok thing. He's not hip, guys. Just
Wow.
kidding. He is.
Back on track.
But is there like one of those moments where you just got to sit back and like maybe somebody gave you your flowers, and or you just got to see a situation where a kid you mentored then and did something that you were like, damn,
Yeah.
my heart was in that.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Like I think, like one of the things we did over at Capitol. Shout out Brandon Chase, who was a member of the 1824 team, was one of my
Woo,
interns over there.
Brandon!
One year, we're like, the project was okay. Look, we need a new recruiting video because we want to draw the top talent, the top collegiate talent to Universal Music Group, and we need to bring them in. We need to create a video that will just make anyone and everyone take notice.
Yeah.
And the process of that, like 13 edits in, what differently can we do? What can we change? I was using examples of like, okay, hey, look, if LeBron's a free agent and you want to lure him to the Lakers,
What are you
what are
gonna
you
do?
going to do? Okay, you're going to
What's gonna
lean
do?
into the history of the Lakers.
Yup.
We got to lean into the history of Capital, but we also got to lean into what's the new exciting things we have on this team that you want to be a part of.
Yeah.
We have to learn. We have to lean into we have these amazing new artists. You want to be a part of this, right? And the uptick on when we did the reel, presented it at the intern program presentation. Everyone loved it. The boss loved it, and the next year the returns were huge. Like we had like the uptick was just like crazy. It was like 800% more than we had the previous. That to me is like, okay, that was a win. That was a W on the board.
That was a W
Because
on
at the
the
end of the
board.
day, we are in a results business,
Yeah.
and we all want to put W's on the board, and that was definitely one of them.
You are just such a guy. Such a guy, such a man, such a legend, such a producer, such an executive producer, such a director. So many things.
Well, thank you,
So
thank
many
you.
great things. What is something, because I know we've got a new generation of music coming up.
Hmm.
What is one thing if you could talk to every kid that is trying to get into the music industry right now, whether they're in college, just post grad, what is the one thing you want this generation to kind of be like, hey, if you hold on to this capital T truth, this will get you a lot further than a lot of things. Like, what is that thing that maybe we might have lost a little bit of that, you wish these young professionals as they start, they know and they can take from us and other people
Yeah.
who have kind of done it a little bit longer than them.
Whether you're a musician or whether you want to be involved in this business in any way, shape, or form, shortcuts are not the answer. I think a lot of
Mm.
people do look for the shortcut, and you know what? It'll make you such a stronger candidate, a stronger songwriter, a stronger musician if you like really sit and do the work.
Yeah.
I'm really excited right now because like bands seem to be making a comeback.
Bands are making a comeback.
I love the fact that kids are picking up guitars and playing
Yeah.
real drums and the whole bit. I'm seeing that energy again, and I think that's awesome. I think you need to look for opportunities. I tell our team this, and I tell our interns this as well. You want to be part of the community.
Yeah.
And you want to be active, and you want it to be organic. You know what? Follow the people that you admire. Follow the
Mm.
campaigns that
That
they're
part.
on. Comment on it.
Yeah.
You know what? Ask if you see them. Hey, do you have 5 minutes? Could I just pick your brain for 5 minutes? Because hey, I like what you do, and I would like to, would love to, just pick your brain or learn something. Or is there any advice you could give me? I really think like, 99% of the time you're going to get someone that responds favorably and go, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Because, we all want to see the next generation. We all want to see, everyone succeed.
Yeah.
And whether it's the intern program or specifically 1824, we are we are the home and we are bringing up the next superstars in this music industry, and we want everyone to be properly prepared.
Yep.
We want to give them the tools to succeed. We want to put them in position to succeed. So things like office hours and just like one-on-one conversations that definitely help. So I would just say seek advice where you can, seek the opportunities when you can. Don't look for shortcuts. Be
Yeah.
willing to do the work, and you're gonna get far.
So I think it's interesting that when I learned the lore of Possum, we've kind of now made what I would call a 360. You started with these artist interviews.
Yes.
You're now the executive producer for 3.5, where we do a lot of that. You're
Yeah.
also the creative director for 1824, and you're now in this role where you're mentoring and creatively pouring in. This might be a question that I wrote, maybe, but what advice would you give to your field producer who is figuring things out and things you wish you knew when you first started your journey as a field producer? Not directed at all.
Yeah, no,
If you have anything.
I got you. I think being on set, whether it's here or whether it's we were at a Kim Petra shoot last week. We had the whole team on board. We were there till 3 in the morning.
3 a.m. baby.
And you have to get things in. You have to get things set up, and you have to get things out. Not around our time, around the artist's time, and around other people's time.
Yep.
And the advice that I would give is like, hey, you know what? we might not be put in a perfect situation, but let's take a breath and let's figure out the best way to achieve the things that we need to achieve.
Yeah.
Execute. Again, I'm going to hammer at home. Execute and commit to the execution of what you're doing.
Sir, yes, sir.
And being able to work with people.
Yeah.
Being able to work with people. Like, it's great. I mean, the best feeling in the world in the industry is when you get that email back from the artist manager or the label
Yep.
or their creative director going, "Oh my God, my artist had such an amazing time working with y'all." And that's great. Like
Yeah.
on the 1824 side, I love it when we get see these emails that this artist loved working with one of our reps,
Yeah.
and then how they did such an incredible job. And because one, that's great for your self-esteem, and two, it's great because that's the service that we provide.
Yeah.
But three, and more importantly for the people that are on the team, you are creating an opportunity because you're doing such a good job and you're making that connection, and this people at the label actually know you by name,
Yeah.
know the face, know your quality of work. So when you graduate, you are going to have a step up on the people that are just sending in resumes. And that's really it's a testament to the hard work that everybody that does, all the hard work that everybody on the team does. And getting the opportunity to showcase your skills, make those connections. So hopefully, when you graduate and you want to get in the music industry, you got a leg up on people.
Yeah. My last question before, I would love if any of our beautiful chat members, I know we have one question already, but if anybody has any questions for Possum, please drop them in the chat and we will try to get to them. But my last question for you is, if you could go back to that day in North Carolina with that pickup truck, that $3K in your pocket, and a drum kit in the back of your car, being the Possum you are now, seeing all this beauty, everything, again, doing a Cynthia Erivo here, but everything, it literally brought me to tears when I was going through all your stuff, because it's like everything you set out to do, you did. And you did it. Hey, I know you're not going to feel that way, but to somebody who sees your journey, it really feels that way. And it's like, if you could go back knowing everything you know now, how it all ended up falling together, what would you tell that Possum before he turns the keys in that car and heads to the West Coast?
First of all, thank you for saying that.
He's like, no, shut up.
Okay, the goal was to be the biggest drummer and the biggest rock band on the planet. That was the goal.
It's everybody's goal.
Well, no, but that was the only reason I moved out here.
Yeah.
But the way things have worked out,
Yeah.
and all the lessons that I learned along the way, I was fortunate enough to be able to take those lessons and to take that passion for music and to turn it into something else. And
Yeah.
I am very happy about that, and I am very proud about that. So,
You should
yeah,
be.
the universe has worked.
The universe is worked.
But
it
again, I
does.
would say I would do it again in a heartbeat. I would make that decision again in a heartbeat.
As would I. So a question from Tori Coleman in chat is, what did you study in college? Which I would
Business.
love to know.
Business, yes.
Period. And that's why he's good on business.
Because honestly, I thought I could use that, but I didn't have, like, for example, knowing how my career went, I probably should have gone into communications or journalism. But I didn't think that way because I was literally like, okay, I need to do this because I need a plan B, but I'm going to be a musician and I'm going to be a drummer on a big stage. And that was my 100% focus. But yeah, I went for business, and hopefully it's helped in some way, shape, or form. But again, I probably would have done something else if I knew I was going to wind up doing what I'm doing now.
But hey, touche. But here we are, and we're making it work.
Yes.
We're making it work. Another chat question from Justin Truong. How are you balancing your passion as a musician? Ooh, love this. With your passion for the production side of the industry. And I want to ask a little bit because I know a lot about Possum. You love you some good rock and roll music.
I do.
Is there like, is it music that pulls you where how, yeah.
I still love playing drums. I got a little drum kit in my office. I play after hours sometimes. But here's the thing. I spent all my 20s playing in bands, touring. One of my band's record deals, we took our money and we bought an ambulance and we turned that into our touring van. It sounded like a great idea at the time. Was not. It broke down our very
I
first
love
tour
it.
driving to Boston. But I digress.
But I digress.
But here's the thing: is like after a while, you can't do that anymore. Like
Yeah.
I played in a band called Black Robot in
Black
2010
Robot. Yep.
with JB from Buck Cherry, and he's like, "Dude, yeah, come on, man, let's do this thing. Let's do. We're gonna put out an indie record." I'm like, "Dude, yeah, let's go." And I was on the road for 2 weeks, and
You're
like
like,
by the third night, I was done. I called my lady. I'm like, "I don't want
I'm
this
coming
anymore.
home.
I don't want this anymore."
Good
And that's
feedback.
okay. And that's
That
okay.
is okay.
I'm down just jamming with friends or jamming on my own. So I've never lost a passion for music, but making it your lifestyle and a living at it is a completely different ball
beast.
game.
Different
100%.
beast. Different beast. I want to get to this question from Kyle Flora. If you were 20 again and applying to 1824, trying to break into the music, marketing / creative, what qualities would you focus on building? Portfolio, network, skills?
All of the above, quite frankly.
Yeah.
One thing is with 1824, for example, on the content side, Danny, Andrew, and Alexa, they do an amazing job of, they have people, constantly applying, right? So they give them a project, they do an interview with them, and they have them do a project, and you got to come with it. You
Yeah.
got to and
Come with your stuff.
and the cool thing is like you have to show some kind of angle of like, okay, this is my lens.
Yeah.
This is my creativity. And it works that way across all the different verticals. It's like, okay, what's a unique spin that I could bring to the table? But I mean, building your portfolio, building your network, your communication skills is so key. Communication is everything. It is like top to bottom. We preach that morning, noon, and night. Over communicating is so much better than under communicating.
Exactly. All right, one fun chat question for you from
Okay.
S. Van Damico.
Okay.
Who does Possum believe is the most legendary drummer other than himself?
Wow. Good question. I mean, I think John Bonham from Zeppelin was the greatest. I love Tommy Lee. I love Lars Ulrich. But someone that
Shout
people
out
may
Lars
not
Ulrich.
know that I like worshipped as a little kid was this guy Shannon Larkin, and he used to play double bass. He used to play double bass standing up, and he would he'd be crashed on the cymbals, and he would smack his head against the cymbals, and like I just thought he was the greatest thing ever, and he was my superhero. Like when some people looked at the Avengers and whatever, he was my superhero. He's my guy. So Shannon Larkin, always going to be a legend.
Okay, can I do one more question and then
Yeah,
we'll stop?
Sure, it's all good.
Will Art 45,
Uh-huh.
who happens to be my middle school art teacher, the first man to ever put a camera in my hand and tell me that I could do something that everybody else told me I couldn't.
Okay.
He said, "What qualities did you see in Hannah that influenced you to give her that chance?"
Well, great question. I will say this. I cannot take credit for discovering Hannah because Hannah was part of the 1824 team. And, Todd approached us and said, hey, we have an opportunity to bring Hannah back to the West Coast and be a part of our team. She's a part of the fabric of 1824. And it seemed like just a really, really good fit. And you know what? I will say this. Here's an example of being proactive.
Okay.
We want to do some new programming. I've been tossing around some ideas. Let's chat next week. If you have any ideas, maybe we can do a program here on the channel. Throw something together.
Yeah.
And you didn't just throw one idea. You had a deck of like 6 or 7 ideas. And what that told me is like, okay, 1, you want it. 2, you are proactive. 3, you are super creative. And those are all things that we need on the team. So it seemed like a great choice. And so far, so good.
So
We're very,
far,
very happy.
so good.
We're very happy.
So you hear that, guys? Come firm with a good deck, and it can do a lot. If you get those ideas on paper, it does a lot more.
You know what? And that goes for everybody. Like, you talk about
Does.
what advice. That is another advice. Learn Adobe.
Yep.
Get into
Learn
Canva.
Adobe.
Put your
Adobe
put
first.
your ideas to a deck because across this business, whether it's a marketing department, whether it's the brand partnerships, whether it's sports and gaming, If you have an idea or you have a concept that you want to pitch, you need to be able to put it in the deck. And you need to put it. You need to be able to put it in a
Fully
few
thought through.
sentences with some visuals that back
Yep.
it up, so that whoever you're pitching to, they can look at the deck without even speaking to you.
And know what's
I
up.
get it.
No half-baked
I get
ideas.
it. I get it.
No
And
half-baked
that's a skill that you can use in any industry, quite frankly. So that's definitely some good advice I give.
I want to give a big shout out to Sydney Gollenbeck in the chat, one of our
Sid
Twitch
Vicious.
partners. Hi, Sid.
One of my faves
we
all
love
time.
you so much, and we are so thankful that you are one of our amazing partners. Does anybody else have a crazy? I'm not gonna say crazy because I don't want people to have too much fun.
No,
with it.
no,
But
we're good.
Any more questions for Possum before we kind of wrap this thing up? I have honestly had such a time doing this. I feel like I'm like, how do we get our own podcast?
No, we are good. I think.
No, we're good.
No. I do want to say though, hey, what we have coming up. So this Behind
Tell
the
'em.
Business series, it's something that we did in conjunction with Discover at the beginning of the year, and we are in a new season of that. So every week we're going to be doing a Behind the Business with different members of the Universal Music Group staff. We have some great ones coming up. It's going to be every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Pacific. So I think, if you want to learn more about the business and you want to kind of get into the weeds and ask questions, this is a great opportunity to do it in a
How
few
to get
weeks.
into the
Yeah.
business.
We have Tori from our team is speaking with someone from UME with Sync. We have Kate with the Capital International Global Marketing team coming up.
Blake?
We have Todd, Wes, and Michelle coming up in a few weeks to speak all things 1824. So it's a great opportunity. So I recommend you listen and come with some questions, and you'll learn something.
Tuesdays at 11.
If you could resurrect
Pete.
one MTV show and run it today, which one would you pick?
Kyle Flora.
All right, that's okay. We're gonna end.
Okay, we'll end on that one. We'll end on
We're
that
gonna end
one.
on that one.
Do I get a vote too?
You get a vote too.
Okay, cool.
I'm gonna go actually VH1 Behind the Music.
Ah,
I love those
good.
Behind the Music.
Good.
What about you?
Good. Oh my gosh. Okay, if I
Don't
had to-
say Viva La Bam.
if I had to bring back one MTV show, I think that no, never mind. I ain't giving mine. What Possum said.
All right.
I second Possum.
Celebrity Death Match.
Bring back
Toodler. I'm down with that.
Okay, Celebrity
down with that one
Deathmatch is
too.
a good one too. Also, bring back 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, but only if Possum can host.
Fox,
Guys, thank you
Fox Sports.
so much for joining us today. Thank you so much for dropping questions for Possum. Thank you for having so much fun with us. I hope this was informational. If you ever want to talk more production, I am Hannah Damico, and I'm more than happy to help you get into the game, man. But
There you
yeah,
go.
this
Thank
is
you
the,
very
this
much.
Is the GOAT. This is the GOAT. So I'm glad we all got to witness it today.
Thank you very much. Great interview.
Great interview.
Appreciate the hang.
Always nice.
Appreciate the hang with the
Nice to
official
meet you.
handshake.
Yeah.
We'll see y'all soon.
Bye, y'all.